Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Jeff Parker here as well. Good to see you, buddy.
Hello.
It's a non-kinescope night for Jeff, but that's good because coming up in next Tuesday.
Are we not talking about black and white TV shows that no one can see?
Exactly. By the way, tomorrow night it's the Velvet Alley for those kinescope fans. Be aware, and that'll start in about 24 and a half hours from now at our usual 9:30 Pacific time start. But today it's all about the Superspies of comics because next Wednesday, the collected edition of Jeff's first volume of Ninjak, of course, the great Valiant character, and Jeff just did a great initial story arc with Javier Pulido, kind of reintroducing the character, not negating anything that's happened in the past. It's just
absolutely not. Yeah.
So
we're not throwing out any babies or bathwater. It's like we're just like picking up with what he does, which is what I'd like to do. I could give two shits about continuity, John. You know that. My own continuity I don't care about. So I'm really not gonna. It's like, that's all. You didn't need to know anything about him other than he used to work for MI6. He can do ninja stuff with little swords. He's a deadly killer. And there you are. That's really all you needed to know.
Yeah, he's a human super spy with great skill. And like you said, he's kind of he's a secret agent with ninja abilities. That's fantastic. And I love what you and Javier Pulido did with this first arc. And it's a great tight story. It opens a new chapter for Ninjak in terms of his new nemesis that's introduced in this story, Kingmaker.
Yeah.
And but no, you got a full adventure and stuff, and obviously the door is open for what's to come. And as we were talking, the next arc starts next year with Mike Norton taking over the art chores.
Finally, Norton and I together is like peanut butter and chocolate.
I agree.
Just like, because see, when when John and I were kids, there were ads on TV where people would be walking down the street with an open jar of peanut butter, and someone else would be waving a chocolate bar around, which is somewhat likely, but not as much more likely than an open jar of peanut butter.
Yeah, that was the sidewalk.
And then they would meet cute, bump into each other, sexually metaphor, jam the chocolate bar into the peanut butter. And then someone helpful, like a storekeeper on the side, would say, "Actually, we already have Reese's peanut butter cups." And then, and there you go. But actually,
Wow, you just spent more time describing the Reese's peanut butter commercials than you actually did explaining Ninjak. So that's very interesting. But I
well,
appreciate that.
I felt one was more intuitive than the other.
No, this is hey man. I'm a big Reese's peanut butter fan, and I a Cups fan, and I am a big
Yeah,
Spies and comics fan. And look, man, you've got a great pedigree as far as writing a lot of spy comic book stories. And I forgive me if this wasn't one of your stories, but this James Bond, is that you?
that's not me. That's Greg Pak.
That's Greg Pak. But yeah, there's Odd Job and everything. But of
Yeah,
course, you've written your share of James Bond comics as well.
yeah,
You did the origin
yeah. I did the
story.
James Bond origin series,
Yeah.
which may continue. I've written scripts ahead, but I don't know what's going on. I know they were. I don't know how much I'm supposed to be talking about what I think of Dynamite's is doing, because I could be wrong. But I think they were waiting for the release of No Time to Die to reschedule a lot of stuff they were going to do Bond wise.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
Isham
Zuby.
Zuby for the audio
Yeah,
audience says it's really sad that walking around with open jars of peanut butter never caught on.
that should still be a thing.
I'm
And
kind of glad it didn't. Too many flies out there. I wouldn't want. Hey, you got your flies in my peanut butter, man. Arr.
yeah, like ugh.
Oh, so,
That's raisins. Um,
but yeah, I understand. No, I know
yeah,
the
so that
weird.
they're just trying to take advantage of the movie, which of course got delayed endlessly because global pandemic.
I'll confess, Jeff, I still haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I was going to, in fact, that was going to be the first movie I returned to the theaters on. And I don't know, I've just been busy or whatever, and I still haven't gone to see it. That's how the pandemic's broken me, making me not go see a Bond movie.
Dude, I so hear you, and truly, as far as a macro subject, I don't know when the theater system will come back, and especially given the fact that there's such a short window in terms of when movies stay in the theaters anymore,
Yeah.
even before the pandemic and stuff. And it's like, again, I'm kind of getting used to seeing big movies on my small screens, and they don't bother me. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I think it'll probably gradually happen, is just my guess. Just
Sure.
like when, because we talk about this on Kinescope. Tune in, everyone. The how once TVs became a thing and people had to have them, and movie going dipped.
Totally.
Yeah, and even though it wasn't like you could stream anything, you were just at the whims of whether CBS decided to show a movie, or they would do the thing of showing a movie all week long.
$1 million movie. Yeah.
Yeah, movie, which seems ridiculous when you think of it now. Except then later, of course, you would get HBO, and HBO would just go through the schedule, and you'd get your little tiny guide, and you'd look through and try to like, oh, which one might show some nudity, and this if you're 12,
Right.
and
Which we were.
yeah,
Yeah.
and or whatever. It's like, oh, well, this comes on at 4 a.m. I got to stay up.
Absolutely,
But
man.
anyway, getting back to this, I think movie going will come back, but I don't think it's going to rush back anytime soon. It may even do the thing of like, what the way people trade weight or whatever, where they
Well, that's what I mean.
buy comics digitally, and then they finally buy the book as a collected volume. Maybe they'll sit there and watch it, and it's like, okay, no, I do want to go see this big, hopefully. Yeah, maybe it'll change the order in which things come out. I don't know.
Well, and also as the TV screens get bigger and bigger too, and the home theater
Yeah.
experience, I think, gets nicer. And also, there's still those mouth breathers that are in the theater. That there's a reason why they make those little shorts before the show. Turn off your
Turn off
cell
your phones.
phone.
Yeah.
Don't talk loud. I don't know about you, but that's still a problem here in Chicago.
Chicago's are talkers, John. They like to talk during their movies.
I have no idea what you're
They
talking
like to
about.
have a dialogue the screen.
It's so true. It really is, man. I mean, I think I'll see Spider-Man in the big theaters next month. This month.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
forget it
Yeah,
is
I'll
this
probably
month.
do that. Yeah, sure.
So I really don't know, man. I really don't know. Well, back to the comics, because not only your own work on James Bond, but I have to always point out the excellent collections that Titan Books puts out of the old comic strip, and that's
Oh
a great
yeah,
cover right
yeah. Look, it's
there.
cool
But
stuff.
oh my God, they're so good. They are so good.
The Aston Martin there. I was just watching Ibrahim draw one on Twitter. Our good buddy Ibrahim Mustafa, who
Yes.
worked with me and did his own Solstice standalone story or whatever. I was just watching in his feed, and he was doing a Bond cover, and he was sitting there drawing the Aston Martin, and I was like, bless that guy. I love him so
Oh
much.
yeah. Honestly, and I've been telling him and Arun Singh, both massive Bond fans,
Oh yeah, Rune
that
loves Bond.
yeah, and when I finally see No Time to Die, I'm like, I really want to talk. So I do kind of plan on talking to them, hopefully this month, if not in January, about it, and also the fact that it is kind of an end cap on at least Daniel Craig's Bond run and everything. But Bond in the comics, really interesting. Of course, I don't have the cover to throw up there, but I mean, even before I believe it was before the movie where Showcase adapted Doctor No, or maybe it was when the movie came out.
Uh, yeah, there was some funny timing on that, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but they definitely did it. Um, and what was the other thing? We talked about this one time, and we had. I need Professor Ben Saunders on here. He has a good collection of this stuff, and he can break it out in his slideshow. We sometimes talk about that at cons. Of course, he always breaks out the James Bond, the American version Jimmy Bond, uh,
Casino
which
or Barry Nelson. We did the
yeah, the
kinescope
Barry
about that.
Nelson that we talked about, and it's like where even if America had no sense of what James Bond was, they had to know this guy did not fit in with the rest of the entire thing.
It was kind of like,
He's great in The Shining.
there you go. Yeah. And and also, I do like obviously on Her Majesty's Secret Service and George Lazenby and everything, but it
Oh
was
God,
kind of
yes,
like
it's the
that
most
where,
gorgeous Bond movie.
yeah, it is. It really is. But and I will say for the American Casino Royale, at least they had the smarts to have Peter Lorre as Le Chiffre. And
Yeah,
Peter Lorre is a great Bond villain. You can't do better than Peter
yeah. I
Lorre.
mean, for something that was crude and didn't really know what it was working with yet, because Bond was still new, like getting Peter Lorre was the right move right away.
Yeah.
That's a Bond villain. It's weird though, like the thing I ended up liking about working on the James Bond origin stuff was exactly what I thought I wasn't going to like. I was afraid like, oh, I don't get to do any of the. It doesn't make sense to do any of the Bond tropes or anything, any of his drinks or cars or any of that kind of stuff. And then I found out by not doing it, it was very freeing, and I didn't get locked into thing like, oh, how do I introduce a villain who's been horribly maimed in some way? You start to think, really? Does every Bond villain have to have some kind of thing?
I love it,
Uh,
Bond. Yeah,
though in
exactly.
with Quantum of Solace, I guess his thing was just simply looking like Roman Polanski. They clearly were trying to do that, right? Like,
I'll take your word for it. That's awesome.
he looked like him.
I didn't put that together, but I still like it. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, there was like, well, interesting shot to take, Broccoli and everybody. Um,
Barbara.
yeah,
Way to
but
go, Barbara.
yeah, thanks, Barb. Um, but I totally forgot what I was babbling on about.
No worries. I
Oh
know
yeah,
in
it
terms of
just
the tropes.
I had to figure out what would be consistent about Bond that people would recognize the character as him before he's ever in a tux, before he's ever smooth. And ultimately I chalked it up to he's just the most persistent human on the planet. He never gives up. Like, falling off a train is not enough to stop him. He will get back on the train or catch up to it in another town and just keep going until he wears the villain down. And that to me is really the essence of him. It's more so than any of the smoothness, which in the books, it isn't that big a deal. Not as much as, I mean, we took a real superficial thing, in the '60s of it, like, oh wow, this guy's so cool, and he has a little quip when he pushes someone to their death and stuff like that, which then became what every action hero did. And then you finally get to see it turned on its head with, of all things, Indiana Jones, who, whenever he survives a close call, he always smiles. It's like he shows his emotion, and it's ha, I won, which was kind of fun instead of a shoo or whatever, because you can't be just constantly relieved. It's like at some point you got to realize I'm very good at this. I keep living through Nazis attacking me and any number of things shooting at me or whatever. So actually having a mean laugh about it was a pretty good way to go.
You haven't had the opportunity to write Indy, have you?
No. Boy, that'd be nice.
It's so interesting since Lucas and Marvel have merged under Disney, and obviously they've gone to town on Star Wars. And again, we know Indy 5 is in the works and everything.
Yeah.
But I am surprised that we didn't get anything prior to the film release. And man, I love those Dark Horse Indiana Jones comics. Those were great.
Yeah. It really is such a natural. I'm surprised interestingly, to keep the Bond and secret agent thing going, they, in Last Crusade, they sort of briefly in that one section, kind of early on, kind of James Bond him up a little bit. He's got a white tux on, he's acting a little cool for himself and everything. And I was like, that was kind of interesting. And then you see him having a boat chase, which is the most James Bond thing imaginable.
That's true. That's very, very. It's funny. I was watching From Russia with Love on Thanksgiving. In fact, God, and again, I'm especially for the first 6 movies. If they're on, I'll definitely watch a few minutes.
Oh yeah,
of them. And I love Roger Moore. I mean, my first screen Bond, seeing it on the big screen, was Live and Let Die. Roger's first movie. What was yours?
Oddly enough, it was the first one. It was Dr. No, and that's because obviously I wasn't old enough, but it was because my parents went to a drive-in. Now I've got to back up again and explain what drive-ins were to kids. But no, it's and they were showing this one summer, they were showing old Bond movies, and my dad was such a Bond nut. And they thought I would just probably sleep back there in the back seat while they were watching it, but I was like, I was paying close attention with this terrible blown speaker sitting on our window. And as a kid, though, I probably thought it was all about James Bond and his invincible friend Quarrel taking on this mechanical dragon, which actually isn't that big a part of it, but that's what stuck in my head when I was little.
Absolutely.
And when you go back and watch it, though, it's a gorgeous film. Like the sets are beautiful. It's just the proportions, the colors, everything's really nice.
It's that capturing time at the right moment and everything, and it is so a jet set, that era of international travel and the allure of the world and the world being brought to us through film. I completely agree. And also their very smart move of casting international co-stars, whether it's the villains or the women, Ursula Andrews, obviously, and Dr. No, and Danielle Bianchi, I want to say was her name from Russia with Love. Something like that.
Probably. And, and your first Felix Leiter is Jack Lord. So that's the American you get. You get Jack Lord.
Hey, man, honestly, if you ever watched I was just telling another friend this, if you ever watched the pilot of Hawaii Five-0, the first 2-parter, it is, I mean, it's still, he's a Hawaiian police officer. It is such a secret agent movie. They are totally dipping hard into Felix Leiter.
They're playing off that connection really hard. Yeah.
Yep. And oh, by the way, Kyle wants you to know he wants more Interman graphic novels. Van Mage lives.
Thank you,
That'd be
Kyle.
great.
I am trying to figure out how to do it. It's it's like at the time I got a couple of options for movies that never got made, but the screenplays were written and things, and that certainly helped. But it's like I need the readership. I might be able to, like John was saying, we just did the Blighter Kickstarter, and after that goes through, we'll see if if I can build a good fan base who actually just hones in on what I'm doing that way. That would be nice, because you can't depend on it's hard to get a message through with so many thousands of things out there competing for everybody's attention. But I love working on Interman, and actually now that I've been doing a little bit of digital art, like I can do that a lot faster. So I might do the thing a lot of my friends and a lot of the Helioscope Studio do, where they do most of it digital, but then occasionally when they get a sweet page they know they want to sell because it's got a big character shot on it, jump back to paper and ink,
Sure.
I always encourage everybody to do that. It's like, don't cheat yourself out of a great sale if you can help it,
No, I've only become more aware of that working with Bill Cox on his art shows. We did one a couple weeks ago, and I was putting the audios out on Word Balloon. And yeah, man, no, I completely agree with that. Isham here, listen, has another comment. Since reading James Bond Origin, I'm curious if any use was made of the old James Bond reference books like 007, James Bond, A Report by O.F. Snelling.
No, but I read some excerpts online. So maybe, it's like, if you talk about Bond, I'm probably read you, talking about it. But I don't think I pulled anything when I was what I was really going by. I was just dealing straight with the Fleming estate most of the time. They had to read everything I wrote and they'd give me notes, which is kind of a lot considering it's a comic book. But then again, they want to keep it distilled, and also they were probably thinking it's like, well, at some point somebody may want to do a streaming thing of the Ian Fleming timeline Bond.
Sure.
Which is he drops out of school and goes into World War II, and that's essentially his schooling from that point on. World War II gives you every kind of story imaginable, really, as far as thrilling, dangerous stuff. And it gives you things like one of the things we wanted to do, I didn't want to make up gadgets. Instead, I did more research of things that people probably didn't realize were happening or being used during World War II, but also feel very much like a Q gadget. And there were things like I haven't even gotten to, but like you see in the Bond movies later, like being shot in a torpedo. It's like that was a real thing. Not full blast, but and at anything. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff that the SEO which was what Fleming worked in, special executives operations, and like OSS and stuff like that. And I like showing like the just cool old school spy stuff, like they're just straight up doing codes and doing them on things, rubbing on paper, blah blah blah, all this stuff, lime juice, whatever, under a flashlight.
Sure.
All the kind of stuff like that. I just love that stuff.
Me too,
and,
man.
And it's my chance also to show Bond actually doing spy work instead of walking in saying he's James Bond, which is the most, when you have to buy this. That's why people now have the concept of a secret agent as somebody who's not secret, at all. And oh yeah, they just have lots of money and guns at their disposal and everything. And it's like, really, he can't just put on a fake mustache once in a while and just pretend he's somebody else. And I have him do that a number of times in that first series, where he's in his style is to lead in overconfidently instead of trying to downplay. he generally tries to come off obnoxious so that people think, no, this can't be a fake or whatever. Nobody be this stupid or whatever. And wave him through. He tricks Nazis all the time that way.
I wanted to bring it back to your comics and stuff too, and point out one of the first things. I'm glad someone brought up Interman, which is in its own way kind of a spy story and everything.
Oh yeah, it totally is.
And but of course, another big run of yours that immediately caught my attention was Agents of Atlas and the work of there. There are several of the Agents of Atlas, and right there in front, that's Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo.
Yeah, and I love Jim. Al Feldstein created Jimmy Woo as a guy to fight the Yellow Claw, unfortunately named.
Oh yeah, it was a comic book just trying to do Fu Manchu.
Yeah,
it's like it was another Yellow Peril thing, but specifically like they probably just couldn't get the rights to Fu Manchu or didn't want to pay, so they make up the Yellow Claw. And normally you would have had, like in Fu Manchu, it was Nyland Smith.
Nyland Smith, absolutely, the British kind of a Sherlock Holmes cipher.
Exactly. So he's Manchu's nemesis, but that was the beauty of what the Atlas Marvel comic did. They thought, well, wait, what if we have a Chinese American actually be the good guy FBI agent who's going after him? And I actually pointed out, I was at I think I told you this. I was at it was a local here in Portland. The city museum, history museum was doing a thing on the Asian population here. And they were teaching kids, like, this is what Yellow Peril was. And this is the kind of tropes and cliches that were used, demonizing people. And they put up a big print of that cover and of the Yellow Claw. And the docent comes up and starts talking to me and like whatever kids that are standing around who kind of drifted off at the time. And I'm just kind of appreciating, like, I can't believe they used the Yellow Claw or whatever. It's like, one, I would have gone for Fu Manchu instead of like something no one heard of really, except me, because I had to work on it. And not had to, but that was my job. And sure. And I thought it would be interesting to tell him, it's like, you know what, as awful as this is, the one good thing about it is, see that character there, that's Jimmy Woo. He was the first Asian American hero in Marvel Comics and in comics. Not in comics, I'm sorry. I would be skipping over some Golden Age stuff there that's important, but I didn't work on it. But anyway, I just thought it would be a neat factoid to tell him, like, it's like, I'm not trying to change your thing. You're still this whole display is still correct. But I was like, this is just a neat thing that kind of came out of it that now gets used. And the guy just looked at me and then, like a robot, defaulted to just talking again about, well, this is what it blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I could talk too, but I guess not. It's like, no one else was around. I just like chatting with the guy. I was like, screw you. Listen to me talk about Jimmy Woo. I'll talk about Godzilla comics, damn it. He was in those too. He flew on the Shield helicarrier with Dum Dum Dugan.
Absolutely, man. No. He's a great Shield agent. And I'm so glad that in the cinematic universe, including the television, obviously with WandaVision, Randall Park playing Jimmy Woo. I
love Randall Park. He's so good.
He is so good. He really is, man. He's hilarious and was great in WandaVision. And I really hope that
he's my favorite part of WandaVision. I really was like wanting more of him in it, but he's really good in the Ant-Man movies too. And
yeah,
somebody was asking me, like, well, didn't you want Jimmy to be more serious? Like, no, because one, they seem to have looked at their comics, because the whole take on him, the all shucks sort of thing, even though he's not technically from the 50s like we did him, they're still kind of doing that, where Jimmy's very old fashioned and Jimmy makes the team go to bed early and make sure they eat before they go out and do a mission and all that stuff. And that seems to kind of be the take they sort of went with. And I'm like, this works great. And, it's like, you don't actually need to do it the way I did it. But
well, your way explained Marvel continuity And again,
Yeah,
there's a nice tether.
once again, I had to deal with continuity, which, as you know, I don't
Right.
care about.
I understand, but
But
again,
everybody
as
I work for does.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you made Brevoort happy and Panicia
Yeah,
and all those guys and everything. But and I'll admit, going back to that what if 8 or 9, that issue of the 1950s Avengers, I love that Don Glut shoehorned Jimmy into that. And also, I just love the way you took senior citizen Jimmy and cloned him, and now he's got a fresh body and stuff, but still is thinking in those Silver Age terms, and that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Marvel Boy literally reboots him to the last, essentially the last saved version of him he had, and rebuilds his body and everything. So he comes out of there like a 28-year-old guy who still thinks it's 1957. And to me, that was just way more interesting than doing serious blah blah Jimmy who's no fun.
Right.
I was like, no, it's like have Jimmy like be a little bit confused by what's going on, but roll with it and show that like his whole take still works. That's what I liked about it. Like everybody else was a team in the 50s, but he's literally from it. And he has an
Yes.
Ed cell, you know.
Yes, that's the other thing. Exactly. He drives an Edsel. Absolutely, man. And of course, mentioning Shield, we've got to give it up to obviously both versions of Nick Fury. Here's the classic version, Steranko. He's got him in the action suit.
Yeah,
I should
got
have
the leg
put
strap.
up my art commission that I got from Bill Reinhold, where he was in the midst of doing the Punisher, and with Doug Brathwaite, he was the inker, and Nick would show up in the Max Punisher as Old Man Fury. And I
Hmm.
remember asking, God, this is 15 years ago, asking Reinhold to do a sketch for me of Nick Fury. And he's like, do you want him Old Man Fury or do you want him in the spy suit? And I thought about it. And I'm like, I want Old Man Fury in the action suit. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. Sure, I'll do that. And it's truly, I mean, I'm looking at it right now on the wall. It's on the opposite wall. It's one of my favorite pieces. And yeah, just that whole Steranko design is
Yeah.
great. But I did like him being still a senior citizen, but still able to get the job done and everything. And it's like, yeah, that's and no disrespect to, and I love the fact that Samuel L. became cinematic Nick Fury, and certainly in the books that followed, we've got Nick's son,
He
Nick
just
Nick Fury,
suddenly has a son who also is missing an eye. You
ironically.
know, we Furies can't keep that eye. I don't know what it is about us.
Is it the same eye? I gotta look now. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it is.
It is the same eye, absolutely. Jeez. So yeah, I kind of don't like what Hickman did, making him Fury, the old Fury, the new Watcher. And it's like, all right, whatever. It is what it is. That's fine. I
I
wish
guess that's the only
Nick was still
promotion
there.
from Nick Fury's level that you can go is to be a watcher or something.
I guess, yeah, man. But regardless, I mean, those are so many great stories. In fact, one of my favorite comic stories is Nick Fury versus Shield from the 80s that Bob Harris wrote. And
Hmm.
it's one of the Bob Harris books that I really, and I mean, eventually it spawned a new 80s Nick Fury Agent of Shield book. But I really loved that, where Fury was kind of on his own and had to just rely on himself, finding out that Hydra had infiltrated Shield years earlier. And again, a trope that was played out in the movies as well.
Right. Yeah,
So
the elevator ride.
that's the best. That is such a great Winter Soldier moment in Captain America.
It's
Absolutely, man.
it's a really good scene.
It's so funny. And I don't know. I'll tell you. Here's another character that I wish would get more play at DC, and that's King Faraday.
I was thinking about that because Darwin Cook would dived right into him in New Frontier, and it's like, hey, look, Darwin makes him cool. Of course, Darwin made everybody cool.
Yeah,
Um, he just touched a character, and suddenly they're 10 times cooler than they were before. Um, but yeah, King Faraday, and his name's a play on King for a Day, which,
yep,
as you pointed out, was a play on Queen for a Day, or
yeah. The old game show. Yeah,
yeah, and but actually, King for a Day is also I think that goes back to a much older thing, just concept wise. Like if
Probably.
I were king for a day, it's like if I had a
I were
genie
king.
or whatever,
Yes.
that sort of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I liked it. It's like he's the character you expect. Is Nick Fury like going to do some ugly things that you'd rather not know about in the service of getting things done, but understands that he's not there to corrupt good characters or whatever, he's the kind of the sin eater for the other heroes that he's around ever.
Absolutely. I forgot to bring up a cover of Paul Gulacy's miniseries from the 90s that he did of King Faraday. And I thought that was terrific. And of course, Gulacy, his work on Shang-Chi as well. And
Right.
I'm always bummed that there aren't more Clive Reston miniseries coming out of Marvel. I always thought Clive Reston was a great character from the Fu Manchu books that could have been exploited a lot more on his own.
Yeah. One just jumped in and out of my head. Like I was trying to think of other cool spy books. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, it turns up a lot in comics, but obviously it's never a Batman level thing or anything like that.
I agree. By the way, right now, another great character is from DC, Christopher Chance, the Human Target, and we're in the midst
that's
of.
What I was trying to think of. Thank you. I was like trying to say, wait, Human Target's out. God, look at that small wood art. It's so gorgeous.
Greg is so good, and I'm so bummed that I should have tapped him earlier to come on Word Balloon. I've known him for years.
Well, the book's still coming out. You can see.
Well, no, I talked to Tom, and it's like, yeah, Greg doesn't like doing podcasts. I'm like, all right. There's a handful of creators that are kind of gun shy coming on and talking.
Ask Greg.
And they're great artists, and Greg's certainly one of them. But
I don't trust Tom. Ask Greg. It's like
I have actually.
It's just so beautiful. He's just totally channeling McGinnis right there. Robert McGinnis, not Ed. Damn it. Even though Ed's a brilliant guy.
Ed's a brilliant artist as well. But
what he's getting is all this great '60s poster art.
And paperback
and somehow turning it into storytelling, which is just mind-boggling to me.
I so agree, and it's such a great story. And I mean, I've always been a sucker for the Human Target. Here's another earlier. I assume that's a Giordano inking job. Certainly looks like it.
He looks like my least favorite Rat Pack member,
Peter Lawford.
Yeah.
Peter Lawford in the 70s and 80s did have that white, I've got the same thing going right now, man. I sympathize.
Yeah, when I get my haircut, you'll be able to see mine better too. But it's like I hated Peter Lawford's. I don't know why as a kid I hated Peter Lawford.
Man, the more you read about him, what a tragic guy.
Yeah.
Peter Lawford. I mean, really, like bastard son of a lord. Things like that. I mean, yeah, I know you know the story and everything, but yeah, just I mean, the guy, and unfortunately, became an alcoholic and a drug addict and stuff. It's a shame. And his son Chris was a hell of an actor, and sadly, he died young as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his son Chris played, I believe it was Roger Chaffee in the 13 Days Kevin Costner movie about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Mm-hmm. And he was on All My Children for years as an actor. Had that Lawford leading man look and everything. Uh-huh. But yeah, that was one of his more prominent film roles.
Well, that's
was as the V2 or not V2, the spy planes that were taking photos of.
Oh, the U-2.
Yeah, it was the U-2s. Excuse me. Yeah, Bono would kill me for that.
V2 were the rockets that
the Nazis used. Yeah.
Yeah. The main Nazi that we ended up that we won in the card game.
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, Werner von Braun.
Yeah. Kyle wants to know if we seen Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. I have not yet.
No, that's a good point, and I've been meaning to watch that because it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
Edgar Wright does great visuals. I mean, he does cool storytelling and great visuals. Yeah, he's somebody who could do I'd be curious to see his Bond.
I agree. I also wonder if it would be smarter to set a lot of these movies during the Cold War years rather than the modern. Although I meant to mention this earlier, I loved how in your Ninjak story, your initial incident was kind of a play on the journalist I want to say Khashoggi, wasn't that his name?
Yeah, Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
I felt like we needed to do so. I was, everything was happening in the world and still is, but like that one was really sticking with me, and I felt like we needed to like do a bit of wish fulfillment. Like, here's why you want somebody like this. Like, why do you want a hero who actually kills and everything? When most of the time we're purporting, saying no, this is not a thing a hero. Now, this is the one time you want a hero who kills. You want somebody to
yeah,
come in and save the journalist who's being cut up with a little saw in an embassy. I mean, that was gross, and it grossed, and I just was so mad because then America is like completely covering it up,
yeah,
and like not wanting to offend the Saudis for clearly sending hitmen after this guy. It was just disgusting, and it was funny when they originally, way before, they'll often give you previews without the lettering, and so they saw Javier's art of that scene, like that went around, and a few people messaged like, this looks like it might be a sort of anti-Muslim thing. I went, oh no, it's not. Wait till you see it. It's like, and I get how you would think that when it's, you're not seeing colors and you don't have the lettering and everything, but it's like, you got to trust me on this one. It's like, it's anything but. And
agreed.
and then of course when it came out, everybody was really receptive of that whole scene, where it's like, oh, good. But then, of course, it reminds you after it's over, like, oh, yeah, in real life, the guy died horribly and everything went bad.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's the way it is. And, that's sometimes we're just doing that. We're doing a little wish fulfillment. Like, well, you know what? For this few minutes in the comic, it goes down the way I'd rather it have happened.
and sadly, as most current events, with time, it gets swept away. And even though we have a new administration, we really don't know what that opinion is of KSM. KSM, I want to say was his name.
Oh, no, it's,
KSG.
no, wait, I'll get it. I've got to remember the
This
Ben.
is,
Wait, shit.
as you're thinking, this is the
What the hell
Crown
is that
Prince.
guy's initials? I
Yeah,
couldn't look it up, but everybody knows who we're talking about.
yeah, I would assume so.
He's the prince,
Yes,
and he's a
and they were
goon.
trying to really present him as a modern guy.
Yeah,
That
I
was,
remember like a year or two before, like he was being put like, "Oh, don't worry, we're coming into the modern day with this guy," and then it's like, actually, you're going back another 1,000 years or something. Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
guy's awful.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Well, moving back to comics, another comic run, and this is a character that I loved in the TV shows, and the only time I know they got the spirit of that show right, I think, is this version of The Prisoner that Dean Motter and Mark Asquith did, and it is a sequel to the series.
Yeah,
Man,
that was nice.
everybody look for this because, especially if you ever. Oh, by the way, Hysham thinks it's MBS, but I
Yes,
think it was
thank you.
okay. I thought there was a K in there, but I thought it was K, maybe KBS,
That's
but I
what
don't know.
throwing me out. You cade me, and I couldn't get. Yeah.
But regardless, and yeah, oh, that's funny. Then Casey likes your glasses,
Thank you,
Jeff. Very
Casey.
good, very nice. But
Your
yeah,
Warby Parkers.
back to The Prisoner. I wish there were better. And every time there is a new Prisoner comic, they have my attention. And I think Peter Milligan did a decent job, but there was still something missing. And I don't know, man. I mean, they tried about 15 years ago to do a reboot with Jim Caviezel, and you would think that the level of paranoia and also security cameras out there in our current society would make it easier to
Yeah,
do a
see,
modern prisoner.
it just seems like what's happening. It's like,
Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
yeah,
Yeah, then of course
maybe
we're
it
all
does have
thinking,
to be more removed. Maybe when things get too close, they're like, oh, yeah, this is pretty much just like when you go to the supermarket. There's there's a bubble, and if you don't think about it, it's okay. But if you realize there's cameras in it, you're and someone's watching you in the back.
as you know, some of the great comic book masters tried The Prisoner in the 60s, and they never saw print until Titan kind of represented them. I know the Jack Kirby collector did pages here and there. Here's the initial splash page of a Jack
Yeah,
Kirby attempt.
Jack was just going a mile a minute on that one, man. I love Kirby, but come on, those arms. It's like,
That's funny.
It's kind of weird. One of my favorite Kirby things, of course, is 2001.
Oh yeah,
I love that stuff, and then I love Machine Man so much.
Oh, that's part of the yawn. Absolutely, man. Well, here another great
Well, it's
artist.
late where you are. It's
no, it's not that late.
I got this edge. It's not even 10 o'clock. Now that kicks ass. There,
I
nailed
think
it.
that's Gil Kane. Maybe it's Kirby, but I thought that might be Gil Kane. But that's a great look at the village.
Yeah, the whole background and everything, but it looks like Kane doing Kirby.
Sure.
At least on the figure. I still love that suit. Look at the suit and shoes. Still great.
Absolutely. Isn't it funny that as you see better video of it now, it was chocolate brown. It wasn't black.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think so too, man.
It's like, no, it's kind of blue-black.
Yeah, you know. There's a guy that has been coming to C2E2 the last couple of years and will cosplay as number 6. And I always told him, when I first met him, I'm like, way to go, man. Dead on. So yeah, if I were less portly, I would totally put a white pinstripe along my lapels and jacket and grab a pair of khakis and cosplay number 6. No question.
I always really appreciate when I do see those cosplayers turn out with the I can't answer that.
We're going to talk about it. Absolutely. But yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Go ahead.
You ask great questions though.
Yeah, Isham, you're on point tonight. Very good.
Yeah, he is. It's like he's keeping us real. But yeah, every now and then at a show you'll see it's like when somebody does the classic Trek outfits or something. I just always appreciate that. Instead of going for the super slick stuff, they just do the simple thing, just simply getting that little pinstripe all around there. I always have to take a picture.
I'm with you, man. Isham wants us to, or is asking the question, and this is a deep cut for non-prisoner fans, but I'm happy to explain. Prior to making The Prisoner, Patrick McGowan had a series that was on several years. In England, it was called Danger Man. Here in the States, it was called Secret Agent. That's where Johnny Rivers
had the famous song "Secret Agent Man."
Yep, Johnny Rivers had a big hit with that theme song, and the character's original name was John Drake. And then McGowan came to, when he was getting bored with the Secret Agent series, went to Lord Grade, who was in charge of the television production company that made Secret Agent, and said, "I have an idea." And he explained it was about a secret agent who resigns. And there's
no reason it can't be. And it's really the original is Deckard a replicant question.
Yeah, so
this is what people argued about in the 60s.
Absolutely. And yes, coming immediately after Secret Agent, the assumption was it was the same character, John Drake, who was the prisoner. McGowan vehemently is like, no, this is just a secret agent. I believe that, of course, and the story editor on The Prisoner and McGowan's collaborator is like, of course it was John Drake. We just didn't want to feel obligated that we had to cut in the creators of Secret Agent and Danger Man. If we had made him John Drake, they would have gotten a cut. I mean, we saw it in Star Trek on Next Generation to Voyager when Nick Locarno, who was a cadet friend of Wesley's.
And they bring him back, and clearly they want you to think of him as the same character. It's like, this is some guy who screwed up in the past.
Right.
Or whatever.
Tom Paris. Yeah.
Yeah. And which is one of the better Next Generation episodes too, because
First Duty. Yes.
Yeah, they let Wesley really make a horrible mistake. And it's
kind of a mark against him. Yeah.
That's good story writing. Having him just skate by almost making a mistake is not a story. Making the mistake is the story. And that'd be an interesting subject for something, just going over all the unofficial connections.
Sure.
Things. And people often refer to it as filing off the serial numbers. And it's like, Paul Smith doing Leave It to Chance, and it's like, yes, obviously it's Kitty Pryde and Lockheed or whatever having different types of adventures, because they're drawn exactly the same way almost that he would have drawn them.
Sure. Casey points out that Danger Mouse was referencing Danger Man. Absolutely, man. Yes, indeed. You're absolutely right about that. No, again, I mean, I always find this stuff interesting. And also I know I saw this and heard this on the second to last, I hate the word penultimate because mostly people use it incorrectly.
Next to last.
So I'm gonna say next to last episode of The Prisoner, where Leo McKern, as one of the evil spy masters, the evil number 2, is trying to break the spirit of number 6, and has him in kind of this torture room and is trying to kind of using brainwashing to kind of get into the ultimate question of the prisoner, which is why did he resign? And at one point, I swear to God, I heard this on it. I don't know when it was made, but on the videotape that I watched, McKern says, "Come along, Drake." So I don't know what to tell you.
That'd be pretty cool if they did slip that in. Yeah, like right at the end.
I don't know. I really don't know. But I remember distinctly back when we would rent bootlegs of The Prisoner. And I mean, it was, again, they were made from the, ITV films of each episode. I have no idea, but it was there. And it sure as hell sounded like Leo McKern. It wasn't like some guy doing a weird little voice or anything like that. So, this is interesting. I didn't know about this, Isham. I'm going to have to check it out. Apparently, there's a great prisoner podcast called Degree Absolute. That's exactly what the Danger Room was that Leo McKern was torturing Patrick McGowan in. So
they would just throw off Degree Absolute is a great name. They would just toss off great names all through the thing.
Many Happy Returns, the episode where he wakes up and it seems like the village is abandoned, and he makes the raft and makes it back to London. And that's such a great episode because literally they're like, you've been gone a long time. We think you defected. And he's like, I have a problem. I have no idea what side the village is on. And it's like, not only do you not trust me, but I don't trust you guys. And it really was this great, like, now what? And so good.
I mean, it was pretty heady stuff. It's way more than somebody constantly Mission Impossibling their face off.
Rolling in.
Yeah. What? That was you? It's like, guys, they do it in every single movie. Do you not think this is going to happen once more?
Oh, though, I got to say, as a little kid, I totally bought that. Oh, man, they must be very sophisticated masks to pull that off. Wow, you really do look like William Shatner there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Rip.
That's outstanding. All right, let me see what other secret agents did I have. Here's a very obscure comic, but I love Pete Morisi, who was the artist.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've ever read Vengeance Squad.
I did not. I've seen that one. Yeah.
Only like 4 or 5 issues, kind of classic 70s Charlton where, all right, we'll try a couple issues. If it doesn't stick, we'll move on to something else. But I really do. I love the art. And I really think that, like, there's a germ of a good espionage idea in this comic book. And I would assume that, I don't know. I was going to say, I would assume by now they're public domain. But then again, I know someone bought a lot of the lesser Charlton library. So someone's making a great Charlton documentary. And I've seen those guys at East Coast cons. They're not ready yet, but they've been doing a lot of shooting with people like Paul Kupperberg. I don't know if they got John Byrne. I know John Byrne had his time at Charlton.
Well, I hope it actually gets made. You know how many times we talked about this, how many times you go to a show and someone's making a documentary and, maybe they'll come up and interview you about it and you go, let me know if it happens. And then they always like, of course it'll happen. And it's like, man, most of these things don't happen. I'm sorry.
That's how Word Balloon started. Word Balloon was going to be originally a documentary. And my filmmaker kind of flaked out and got too busy. It's true. And luckily,
here we are.
Well, yeah. And I had the audio of all the interviews I did. So I'm like, all right, I'm not waiting for you anymore. I'm going to take the audio and I'm going to make it into a podcast. And 16 years later, here we are.
Wow. So, you're like the prisoner. And that was the Drake before.
Yeah.
I can
I will
see.
not be filed, stamped, briefed, or debriefed, or whatever he says. My life
Now,
is well.
if we were in Europe, obviously we'd be talking about Diabolic.
Diabolique is amazing. Yes.
Yeah, but at least I think most of the people who watch you have probably seen the Mario Bava Danger Diabolique, and how beautiful a movie it is. It's just so lovely to look at.
Oh my God, yeah. I loved how what you would call the white hip hop guys took the Diabolique footage and put it in one of their videos. Damn it. What you would call the guys give it away, give it it was those guys, right?
The Red Hot Chili Peppers?
No, not the Peppers.
Are you thinking of the Beastie Boys?
I am thinking of the Beastie Boys. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They made a video of one of their songs and intercut Diabolique footage and even recreated some Diabolique scenes and stuff. It was fantastic. Very, very. I forget which specific
I'm such a
song.
sucker for both of those things. You think I would know what you're talking about, but I'm like, I don't remember that. All I remember is the intergalactic robot dancing around.
Awesome. I'm digging what Bendis is doing with Checkmate. I always loved Checkmate back when Kupperberg was originally part of it, and what Rucka did with Checkmate in the early 2000s. And I like what Brian's doing right now. I just wish there were more covert people rather than superheroes. I mean, I like superheroes doing spy stuff. I think that's great.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of fun when you mix it up. The thing with the spy stuff, it's harder to write. So it's probably just a lot more work on everybody, It's the kind of thing that you tend to have to, if you want to really do it right, you got to do more research. Then a hero, you can make up a wacky energy and they show up and there's an alien or something, it's like, and you're freed up a little bit because it's further apart in escapism, but all the spy stuff has to be fairly grounded to have that gravity and edge that you want. So you have to actually look up your world locales and learn about them and stuff like that. It's like that's one of the things I've run into. I did it in Interman and James Bond and Ninjak and other things. Like we're often traveling the world, but you have to take into account okay, everybody doesn't speak English everywhere you go. It's like I don't like doing those little brackets. So a lot of times I will cue people in by I'll pick a familiar enough word in the language they're using to lead off a balloon, a bit of dialogue. So everybody gets the sense oh, they're speaking French. It's like I'll everybody knows bonjour. I can write that. And you know what I'm talking about. And then lead into without writing a wacky French accent. You can get the sense that people are speaking French now or whatever and act by the way the other people are acting. I don't know what it is. I just never like those little brackets around things to show it's a foreign language. One of the coolest transitions I still think is in Hunt for Red October when Sean Connery's reading that passage and he's speaking in Russian and then they just write, I forget what word it is where they do the turn and then it switches into English.
Armageddon. Yeah, it's the quote about Armageddon and everything. Yeah, actually it's the political officer that is reading from the Bible.
And, is it Sam Neill?
Yeah, no, I forget his name. He was the spy master in MI5 and Spooks. Great actor. I love that guy. And I love that character that he plays in MI5 and Spooks. Uh-huh. But yeah, it's him that's reading, and they zoom in on the book, and then they zoom back out, and he's speaking English. Yeah.
That's weird. In my head, it's Sean Connery doing it. But,
well. I mean, because it was a book that the political officer discovered in Connery's cabin, and he's like, this is contraband. I could actually have you arrested for having such material or whatever. And then Connery.
Yeah, but it was a great signal to the audience that okay, now we're going to be listening to them in English, but you understand they're not speaking English.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. Casey wants to know, yes, there were a few Prisoner-esque series from DC starring Nemesis about 10 years ago or so. Yeah.
It may have been longer back than that. I don't know.
Ivan Brandon did that.
Oh, well, Ivan's perfect for it.
Yeah. Agreed. There's a shot of Nemesis. I wish they would
Ivan's
use.
like a real life spy character who travels the world all the time. He does. He's one of the best traveled guys I know.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't seen Ivan. Well, there you go. I haven't seen Ivan in a long time, probably
yeah.
because
Get
he's not
him on
traveling.
here. He's good.
Oh God, yeah. Oh no. When he has a new book, I usually do try to get Ivan on. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up, I don't know what you can reveal about the next arc of Ninjak. I mean, obviously they're on the hunt now for, well, both Kingmaker and King himself are on the hunt for each other.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Valiant's not on here telling me I can't say anything. So it's that was the glass cover. Just weird collectible that I've got one of. I hope it's valuable. But yeah, so those two twins, uh, who we don't officially name, but one of them keeps being called Kingmaker. And essentially, I'll just go ahead and spoil something. The sister is going to be called King Breaker.
Ah,
Um, they are of course part of this strange group that just somehow is able to get a hold of every secret and just spill it out to the world. They ruin MI6. They're trashing intelligence agencies like crazy, and as a result, they've got nations just begging them to leave them alone because they can't figure out how to stop them. And of course, as you saw at the end of issue 4, Ninjak fails to kill somebody, and that becomes the new directive. It's like I want every single hitman on this planet kill it after this guy. Let's get him. So it starts off as an enormous chase, and actually it stays an enormous chase through most of the next arc.
that's
Um,
awesome.
there's a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next arc, and an artist I've always wanted to work with, who they should be talking about pretty soon. So I won't try to steal the thunder there. You may have accidentally saw us slip up and talk about it on Twitter, but you'll get it soon enough.
Okay.
It's a good artist. It's a really good artist.
So you're not talking about Norton, obviously. You're talking about it after Mike.
No, I was talking about Norton. You just blew it, John.
I thought
I'm
it
just
was already
kidding.
out
I'm just
there.
kidding.
Well,
I
it's
think people probably saw it already.
It's at the back of issue 4, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah. Oh no, they
Well,
teased
that's what I
the
get for
next
not
arc is
opening my
Mike.
comps.
So
See,
yeah,
I
no, they did.
always get mixed messages from what I can talk about and what I can't. Oh,
I
thank
understand.
God.
Well, we talked about it
Mike
earlier. I
Norton,
thought we
I
talked
wanted to
about
work
it
with
earlier.
him.
Yeah, and no, when the next arc is up and running, I do want you guys both on again to talk about the arc and everything. That'll be great. But yeah, there are in fact at least I don't know if they're going to be in the
Did they? Does the thing
trade.
now? I've got to ask you because I haven't. Do they show any of his art?
Yes, I was going to say.
Oh, good.
Next Wednesday the trade comes out, but also the first 4 issues are available obviously physically at your local stores, but also digitally. And I purchased them digitally, and at the back of issue 4 there are a couple pages of Mike's art for the next arc, and they did announce it. So yeah, we didn't spoil. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Okay. It's
You're
like
not in trouble.
I never know. The way everybody embargoes, and you catch this all the time, where people will say something on your show, and then they have to call you like, John, quick, can you cut it out?
Please delete that. Absolutely. God, did Dio even gotten when he was executive editor at DC? He was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna do a new Batlash, and really excited about it." And either Levitz or somebody above Levitz is like, "Hey, why'd you talk about that?" Oh, I'm sorry. So it happens.
It's a weird thing in the comics industry, and of course they obviously continue it. You see it in the Marvel MCU movies and all that. But I always thought you should talk about things more to get the word out. I don't know. But apparently I understand. Like if you build up some mystery and hold things back, you do build anticipation. But I don't know. I tend to just blab about things, and if someone asks me offhand on Twitter, I'll often answer something that I wasn't supposed to. So yeah, it's a good reason to interact with me.
I understand. My apologies to the Twitch audience that was saying they can't see us, but I guess they can hear us. So I don't know what's going on the Twitch channel.
Really?
But I appreciate you guys showing up. And all I could say is, we're always simulcasting as well on Facebook and YouTube. when we do these things. So if you have these kind of technical difficulties, seek out the Word Balloon YouTube channel as well, or just refresh it and it will fix itself. Okay, well, that's great, guys. I appreciate you understanding and passing along that knowledge to your fellow Twitch people. And
while you're playing a game and listening to the interview at the same time.
Well, and also, hey man, I feel like old fart on Twitch. So thank you for watching and tolerating my bullshit, given that I'm a man in my 50s. But yes, thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as well, or we'll come back and re-listen or rewatch it because it's been fun talking about some of the great comic book super spies. So
and thanks to the regulars for chiming in. You have like the most literate viewed bunch, who can talk about this stuff, and I always appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. No, everybody brings great comments to the conversation, and I appreciate it as well.
It's not YouTube. It's not the YouTube gang. It's totally it's a whole other level.
Well, they're Word Balloon fans, and that means a lot to me, man. And then truly, coming off of Thanksgiving, I always try to make sure that on the audio show, I thank everybody for paying attention to my BS and everything, and then the people that come on and the great guests that we have, like Jeff. But also, it's officially my birthday today.
What? I didn't know that. Well, now I'll never forget. December 1st. That's easy to remember.
Well, actually, it's December 2nd. It's so it's still not my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
where you are. But
well, many happy returns.
Thanks, buddy. Absolutely.
Go grab a thing right out of the prisoner.
Yes, indeed.
Because that's how you say happy birthday there.
That's very true. My sister's birthday is the same as Patrick McGowan's and number 6's birthday. Because
and so that's the way you can remember your sister's
birthday. Sadly, it's kind of true that that is how I can remember my sister's birthday. So
I'm the same way. Something has to be connected to a movie or something, and then I can remember it. But
thanks, man.
You gonna do anything cool for your birthday? You gonna
no. Well, I'm actually shame on me. I'm doing several cool things, and they're all podcasts. I may as well tease what's coming up tomorrow on Word Balloon. In the mid-afternoon, I'm going to be talking to a good radio friend of mine, George Hoffman, fantastic sportscaster that has a great podcast called Tell Me a Story I've Never Heard. And he is an amazing sports Rolodex. People like Marv Albert, Bob Costas, Mike Greenberg from ESPN have all done George's shows.
Oh, wow.
He is a great network of various sports broadcasters that work in the top cities and top markets, and always gets very interesting conversations from them. So I want to help throw people to his podcast and give them a chance.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Oh, thank you, buddy. And then in the afternoon, we're going to do a new Trek watch with my buddy Mitch Halleck from Terrificon. Right. And we'll be talking about episodes 3 of Discovery. I hope the Prodigy comes back. They took Thanksgiving week off. I'm not sure why. But I hope they're not just giving us 5 and then kind of do what Netflix did with the He-Man show and, take a few month break and then come back with the back end or whatever. But we'll be talking about those. And also there was a great Star Trek documentary that's been on the History Channel. We'll discuss all that. And then, of course, tomorrow night, 9:30 Pacific time, Jeff will be back with Gabe Hardman and me, and we'll be talking about a new episode of Kinescope, and it's the Velvet Alley, kind of a Romana Clef of Rod Serling's own life. He wrote it, and Art Carney is the lead as the TV writer. That be careful what you wish for when you wish for success. He's a local guy that gets a big network break, and he starts to change, and all of his friends around him notice the change and stuff. It's a great drama, and it's.
I love that Serling was like, "Where's some material? Me. I'll just use me."
Why not? I'm okay with it, Yeah,
so you did good stuff.
Absolutely. Jack Klugman's in it, and I haven't rewatched it yet to see if Leslie Nielsen's in it the way Gabe was wondering. I'm not sure. But we're all looking forward to watching it. It's on YouTube. So if you're curious to join us, look up Velvet Alley, and you'll find the episode, and then watch it or listen to us and watch us review the show tomorrow night, 9:30 Pacific. So that's all coming up on Word Balloon and on the next episode of Kinescope. So until then, thanks a lot for watching. Jeff, thank you for hanging out.
Yeah.
We'll talk in 24 hours. And everybody else, stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. Bye-bye, everybody.